Well, howdy there, Sigma race fans. We come at you live here today from Chicagoland for the Chicago Times 460. It's been a staple in the Sigma Cup Series over the last 12 years, so 12 years running and still going strong. We got an interesting front row lineup here as Maggie Reams sets on pole position alongside Dalton Scott. That's definitely a surprise pole winner right there. Behind that, you got Nate Newman and Al Bunch, Brian DeBlank, and Bradley Ream. DeBlank just came out of this past week with a truck win, so maybe looking to try and capitalize on the Cup side here tonight. Chaz Chadwick and Braden Varga, Ewan Wood Army and Kellen Relic, Monty Shangle and Jimmy Logano, Rich Roy and Tasha Wright, Eli the Wolf and Willow Blake, Taden Bergeron and the 40 there of Carson Bowers, Lucas Holmes and Bella Fawn, Trevor Walker and Jacob Shangle, Lynn Farrell and Chris Harvey, Tyler Shangle and Andre Stefan, Tom Cording and Kevin Xavier, Kara Shangle and Tristan Reams, James Fireball Robert alongside Tyler Landa, Adam Starr and Louis Trost, John Hagan and Jack Ross, Jordan Walker and Liz Shangle, Tyler Aspinall, Guido Piano, with Nelson Chacon and Matthew Fastnot rounding out the field here.
Favor, touch all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything.
Driver, start those engines!
Make sure everything gets right there, Jim. Guys, go be careful.
Alrighty, off to the early lead it is Maggie Reams. Al Bunch goes low here on his teammate in the 15, the Jaguar. 81 and the 15. Dalton Scott making a peek on the inside here on Maggie Reams. Looks like he's going to take the lead here on lap 3. Well, Maggie's going to fight back on the high side, drag race down the front stretch, and Maggie's going to lead that lap. Al Bunch has been snake bitten this year, hoping to finally get out and break through to win. Obviously, I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, you know, commentary jinx kicks in pretty regularly, so. Dalton Scott takes over the lead here. Maggie Reams falls back to second. Dalton's already got 3 wins on the season. And being his farewell tour in the Sigma Cup Series, he is trying to get as many wins as he can before he calls it quits. This is probably the best form we've seen out of Dalton Scott probably ever, and he's been in the series for 15 years, the original champion back in 2010. And one last go this season. It's really turned into a swan song year for him. And with that, Dalton is kind of stretching out the lead here. Maggie falling into the grasps of Al Bunch and Brian DeBlanc. Chaz Chadwick in 5th, and his teammate right behind him, Ewan What Army, your current points leader right now. But the one that's trying to hunt down that points lead is Bradley Ream, who's running right there behind him. And Bradley Ream's had a stellar start to the season. This is his rookie campaign here in 2025. Your 2024 Bridge to Cup champion, or in other words, our Xfinity Series, and got the graduation to Cup here this year because of that championship in Bridge to Cup. You got Braden Varga in 8th, Nate Newman in 9th, and Monty Shangle in 10th. Rich Roy in the top 15. Jimmy Logano running in 14th, right there in front of Tasha Wright, who's in 15th. And Chicagoland often lends itself to a fuel mileage race by the end. So we're set in for the long haul here. It's going to be a pretty lengthy race. That's why it's one of the marquee events, one of the crown jewels, kind of. And yeah, we've got some full-length endurance races in this series. We've also got some shorter, quick racing that makes it a little bit easier to follow along. So yeah, if anything, grab a bag of popcorn, grab a drink, and just get settled in for this one. Al Bunch making a move here for 2nd. Maggie Reams from pole position. She's starting to drop backwards here. There we have Chaz Chadwick as well, peeking on the inside of the 85 there briefly. Maggie keeps fighting back in that Honda, though, to keep 2nd place away from Al Bunch. Wow, Dalton is really stretching it out here. He's really not worried about conserving his stuff right now. He's burning through the tires and driving away as far out front as he can get. Brian DeBlanc making a move here for 3rd. That might even open the door for Chaz Chadwick in the 18 and Ewan What Army in the number 1. As I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast here, this is a race that has had a long-standing history throughout the Sigma Cup Series. Back all the way in 2013, the first ever winner of the Chicago Times 460 was Dave Grawl. And then 2014 was Justin Roman. 2015, Austin Dillon. 2016, Tyler Shangle, who is out there in the field today. Go through the field here and find your 2016 race winner. Not having a great showing right now. It looks like he's deep in the field. There you got the number 77 Little Caesars Dodge Challenger. He's running in 23rd at the moment. The next year in 2017, Takuma Sato won it. You're probably starting to realize that there was a trend of real-life motorsports racers in the series. We have since changed the rules to keep real-life drivers out. And, yeah, so even 2018, it was Kyle Larson in the series here. 2019, Marco Andretti. 2020 was Monty Shangle. 2021, Jordan Roman. 2022 was Will Power. What a wild year that was. He ended up winning the IndyCar Championship just like our Sigma Cup Championship as well. So it was a weird coincidence for sure. Happy coincidence. 2023 was Ewan What Army, who's also here in the field tonight running 6th. And then Andre Stefan won it last year. Yeah, so far throughout the race, 22 laps in, no caution yet. Everyone's racing pretty clean, pretty cautious, saving their stuff maybe for the second half of the race. There's going to be a couple pit stops here tonight, no matter what. Even if we get cautions or if it stays green the whole way, they're going to have to come in for fuel and tires quite a few times here today. No retirements due to mechanical failures yet. All 42 cars still out on track. Kind of skimming from the back end of the field here to see where the action spots might be right now. Racing for about 30th looks to be pretty dicey, as you've got some 2x2 now followed into single file. Oh, here we go. This is up for 2nd through 7th. A lot of side by side for some of the top positions here. We have not seen much out of Maggie Reams this year, so this definitely comes as a surprise to see her running so stout here at the front of the field. If we go back and look at our point standings on the season so far, Maggie Reams is deep in the points. It's been a rough start for her. '27th in the points, with a best finish so far of 4th and a 7th. Everything else was outside the top 10 for her, so definitely outperforming her average and putting on a good showing so far. But man, Dalton Scott is way out there, checking out on the rest of the field, making it look too easy actually, as he's led majority of this race so far. If we look at our lap tracker, he's led 27 laps and Maggie Reams has led 3. But there's still a lot of time in the race here. Usually Chicago does present itself with some crazy cautions and fuel strategies, so we'll be looking out for that for sure. Definitely all our high point contenders here in the top 10 having a good showing here today. That's definitely what you want to see. You want to see your title contenders fighting it out week in and week out, and that's what we're getting right here. There's been so many times this year that Al Bunch could have almost got his victory. Couple times, but man, it's been an uphill battle for that 81 team. They will find a way to lead the most laps and throw it away before the end of the race. It's been an interesting year for your defending Sigma Cup champion, your 2024 champion of this series right here, and he's trying to come back and defend it. It's been off to a bit of a slow start, but I mean, he's still out there getting decent finishes even when he's not winning. Here he's catching up to the 34 of Reams. We've seen this song and dance a couple times here today already. He'll catch the 34, try to make a move just like this, and Maggie Reams will drag race down the backstretch to keep that position. Might be a different verse this time, as you see Al Bunch gets an advantage going into turn 3. Might be able to close the door this time and hold second place. And there we go. Now he's going to have the challenge of trying to catch Dalton Scott, your leader. Dalton just turned a 29.7 on his last lap. Al Bunch turned a 30.0, so it's going to take a little bit of work and perseverance here for the 81. 3 wide. Wow, almost 3 wide. Lap times actually got closer there. Dalton Scott at 29.8 and Al Bunch at 29.8. So without the traffic, it looks like Al Bunch is right about at the same pace as Dalton Scott. But that ain't going to get you to catch up to that 15 very quickly if you run the identical lap times. Still all 42 cars running. And there we got Jacob Shangle in the Genesis, number 64. It's only a two-car program for Genesis this season, as they're trying to test the waters here in Sigma Cup. The other driver, the 88 of John Hagan there. James Fireball Robert has been on a hot streak as of late. Kind of fits his middle name, Fireball. How fitting for Fireball to be on a hot streak after winning at Watkins Glen and then having a top 5 from Riverside in the last race. Struggling a little bit here tonight, running in 24th though. Still a lot of time for him to try to get back up there and fight for all the points he can get. And team owner to Al Bunch, you got Kellen Relic in the mid-pack here at about 20th. Rich Roy, Lynn Farrell, Willow Blake in the Project Roar. Rookie on a Rampage project that we have here. She's definitely been the one to keep your eyes out on in this number 19 seat. It's split between 4 different drivers. And the driver that gets the best results in this number 19 seat will earn the ride for 2026. So yeah, Jimmy Logano running in 8th, right on the tail of Eli the Wolf. Bradley Ream. Wow, Monty Shangle has climbed all the way up to 5th. That's a impressive surge. If you keep an eye on him, he was running 9th. Was there lap traffic, or how the heck did he actually manage to get up 3 spots here in the matter of a couple laps? Trying to see what we missed. It was, oh, wow. There was something that we missed. So a little bit of contact here between teammates. Looks like Maggie Reams may have had a, oh man, she had a flat tire. And that's how, wow, and that's your points leader, the one of you and What Army. Just by that process there gave Monty Shangle 3 spots. We'll watch the in-car cam on the number 1 there to see how much damage that was maybe sustained there. That's going to be notable. So, no caution so far, but we did see our first contact. Unfortunately, it was for Maggie Reams in a flat tire. So definitely a heartbreak for Maggie Reams, who is having such a great race here today. The wheels literally came off on it. Well, Al Bunch is clipping a little bit quicker laps than Dalton Scott. We'll check this lap to see what Dalton turned, a 30.0. Al Bunch turned a 29.9, so maybe now is the chance for Al Bunch to actually start catching up to our leader here. Yeah, so Maggie Reams now falls one lap down here today. Still have all 42 cars out there running, but Maggie Reams now one lap down, almost at the tail end of the entire field. Things have really gotten strung out here so far. Braden Varga in fourth, Monty Shangle in fifth, Bradley Ream in sixth. He's going to be beating the points leader as they run right now and could be trying to close that gap on Ewan What Army. Eli the Wolf and Jimmy Logano, the 10-time champion, self-proclaimed Jimmy Logano. He's quite the star, and it's impressive that we've got him here in the Sigma Cup Series, running week in and week out. He's full-time in the Bridge to Cup Series right now, and this is just one of his few one-off starts. He was going to sign up for all the Crown Jewel and Marquee events on the Sigma Cup calendar. So he's got a pretty reasonable 15-race schedule here in Cup. Still got to qualify for him. Field's big enough that that you got about a 20-car qualifier to figure out who joins the rest of the chartered drivers that are locked in. Haven't been acknowledging it much here tonight, but fastest lap belongs to Tasha Wright. Pretty sure it swapped hands a couple times, but Tasha Wright with the fastest lap so far in the race, and she's running in 12th. Man, that's impressive. Tayden Bergeron with a top 10 run so far. We're definitely seeing some interesting faces at the front half of the field here. Some new blood that could be hunting for their first career wins in the Sigma Cup Series on a few spots there. Fuel mileage is definitely going to be about the window opening up now. So green flag pit stops are upon us. I know in the sprint qualifier that I hosted to set the field, people started pitting around lap 65. So I can only imagine Dalton Scott's probably burned through a lot more fuel than the rest of the field, and he's going to have to come down pit road first. And we're going to definitely see at least 4 rounds of pit stops here today to get to the end of the 460 miles on track. Might have a potential swap for position here. It looks like DeBlanc catching up to the back bumper of Al Bunch. Well, it looks like Tasha Wright, one of the first few to pit. So that means she's going to take the advantage of the undercut here, hoping that it can gain her some time to those that were in front of her. It's pretty early to make that first pit stop when other people are still staying out here. Honestly, the crazy part is if someone can push it to about lap 70 here, it would still be about a 4-stop race. So yeah, it doesn't really make a difference. They're going to pit when they're going to pit here. Looks like Brian DeBlanc making his pit stop here on lap 65. Jaguars must have a little bit more fuel economy as they're still out there leading the way. Al Bunch trying to shrink that gap to Dalton Scott before pit stops happen. Well, there you go. Dalton Scott pits here on lap 66, and that's going to give Al Bunch the lead here. Al Bunch trying the ulterior strategy and staying out as long as he can. The only good thing about staying out as long as you can here is if you catch a caution, you might be able to put a bunch of drivers a lap down. I was partly joking about seeing someone stretch it to lap 70. It's not really much better of an advantage. It might give you a shorter stint at the end of the race where you can pit later than everyone else and come back out there with fresh tires. So obviously strategies are meant to be varied across the board to give us kind of different flavors throughout the race. And it's interesting to see here how late Al Bunch stayed out. It's going to be a bit of a disadvantage on the exit of pits here for him, since everyone else is going to be out there on fresh tires right now, turning quicker laps, and he'll be coming out on cold tires. 70 laps in, still no cautions, no wrecks. We did have a fender bender. And the lead swapped hands 3 times now, as we saw out of the gate. Maggie Reams led about 3 laps. Dalton Scott led the rest. And Al Bunch just led these last couple laps. So Maggie Reams with her flat tire, it actually worked out decently. The fact that she was on the entry to pit road right about the same time as she got the flat tire, it throws her off strategy, but it's, you know, it doesn't hurt to be off strategy sometimes. Oh shoot, I'm behind live. I didn't realize that. I didn't get back up to live. The lap ticker says it's lap 72 and we're on lap 65. My bad, guys, my bad. I'm going to fast forward here to try to get us back up to live ASAP. Currently leading the way, it is Brian DeBlank. He was able to use the pit strategy to his advantage here and gain an advantage over Dalton Scott. Dalton is going to be hunting him down here. So my numbers were kind of off because I was looking at the wrong ticker for the lap that we were on versus the lap that was actually going on. I think that was about lap 60 for Al Bunch making his pit stop, which would put us at a 5-stop race here today. And that last stop would come at about lap 300. So you'd be looking at about a 7-lap window where they might be pitting at the end of the race. I don't know how Chicagoland always does this to me. It's always kind of come down to a gas mileage race. And perhaps it's the odd mileage count of 460 miles that it's always been. But I ain't complaining. Sometimes you got to get those weird races to keep things interesting. Brian DeBlank's got a truck win this season, this week actually already. His ARCA team won at Daytona last night. And I'm not going to say much more to try and avoid jinxing everyone because he's having a good showing right now. Dalton Scott's going to be tough to beat here today. We've already seen as he led a plethora of laps early. 56 laps to be total. And Al Bunch is now up to 3rd. Braden Varga 4th. Monty Shangle 5th. Jimmy Logano and Maggie Reams on those old tires. This is where the advantage goes away, as she's been out there on these tires for almost half a stint longer than the rest of the folks that just came in for fresh tires. Never know, though. Getting off strategy could still work to her advantage by the end of this one. We are dealing with lap traffic right now. Matthew Fastnot 38th, a lap down. Oh, man. So it wasn't a pit stop for Tasha. Unfortunately, it was a mechanical failure as it had a piston failure on the number 90. Tasha had a quick car here today, fastest lap on track still for her. But maybe they had it dialed up a little too hot as it failed to make it to the finish here today. Well, that's a bummer. KBM still has a couple bullets in the chamber, though. You got Tom Cording and Braden Varga, as well as the 95 of Fireball Robert, who is mid-pack, I want to say. Yeah, James Fireball Robert, mid-pack in 21st. Still a very, very long race here tonight, folks. I'm going to take a quick break from commentary, and I'll give you all the Sigma side by side, so don't go anywhere. Just keep your eyes on the screen. Well, during Sigma side by side there, you definitely got to catch Dalton Scott close the gap up on Brian DeBlanc here. DeBlanc is now getting held up by lap traffic pretty fiercely here. And that may have been part of what allowed Dalton Scott to close the gap so quickly. DeBlanc looks like he's going to make an attempt there on the lap car, but didn't get alongside the 23 there. That's Guido Piano in the 23, Kara Shangle in the 21, pair of teammates in the two Shangle Toyota Racing entries there. Oh, and here goes Dalton Scott alongside Brian DeBlanc to try and force the lead. DeBlanc holds it for that lap. Dalton Scott's got to settle back into the groove behind him. And now you got doubled up lap traffic. That's only holding up the line here severely. Dalton goes low again on DeBlanc. DeBlanc not looking like he made the right line choice there. Yeah, he's going to drag race back around the outside. Look at that. He's going to lead the lap over Dalton still. And he closes the door back in front of the 15. And now, like a shark lurking in the background, Al Bunch has started to close the gap up to our leaders here. This might very well become a three-dog fight. And I'm liking how all of this is materializing. You know, it came down to pit stop strategy that's ultimately got Brian DeBlanc out front leading. It was looking like no one had anything for Dalton Scott. So, well, maybe Dalton Scott's going to have some stern meetings with his pit crew to try and get the pit stops under control. Because he had won a hell of a lead and blew it all away under green flag pit stops. Al Bunch trying to get side by side with the 15. DeBlanc starting to stretch it out a little bit as they get side by side. That's going to help. Yeah, this is actually the core Chicagoland track, the original Chicagoland that came with the game. It's very rare that I stick with the original track, since I've found a lot of revamped and remodeled tracks that have since surpassed the competition racing and all that. The vanilla tracks are good. Don't get me wrong, but some of the things that people have done with these other tracks, it's kind of crazy, the realism and tweaks that they've been able to make to have the AI look so realistic out there. 3 wide for the lead as Dalton Scott gets in alongside Brian DeBlanc there. It's 3 wide with the lap traffic of John Hagan. But yeah, Chicagoland's one of those tracks that I go back to with the vanilla version because it's so good. It's one of those tracks that I don't even think a remodeled, revamped version would top this one. The only other track that I have that's vanilla is the Indianapolis track. Indy often provides us with a stellar season closing race each year. Used to be kind of shenanigans central at Indianapolis for the time that I had it on the Dell and then the time I had it on the HP computer. But since moving to a gaming laptop, it actually got very tame, which was amazing to me. And I don't know why swapping computers has changed the trajectory of the AI. It may have been a mod edit that I had made to the AI exe as well. I don't know, but it is kind of crazy how it's tied to the different computers I've had. Kind of sets up different racing each time. And I fear for Al Bunch that may be the case here in 2025, as I ended up getting a new computer. Think of it like Formula One, where they've got to change the chassis every 6 to 7 years so that people don't get an advantage that would destroy parity. And so in enters a new computer, just like Formula One creates a new chassis, and it changes the whole game, which is unpredicted. I don't know how I can actually monitor or gauge that, but similar in nature to the F1 chassis changes every so often. Al Bunch got around Brian DeBlanc there, and now he's going to be hunting down Dalton Scott. Dalton's getting held up by a lap car there. That's giving Al Bunch really good chance at catching up to his back bumper. Dalton goes alongside Nate Newman there. And it's crazy that our first round of pit stops, it almost seemed like they just came and went. We're going to be closing in on the second round of green flag pit stops here within another 15 laps. Still no cautions here tonight at Chicagoland. It's been a grueling, non-stop pace here since the start. Dalton Scott, your current leader, setting about 180 mile an hour average around the track. So the 460 mile race would be going and getting done within about 2.5 hours at the rapid pace we're pulling here. Dalton gets around Nate Newman, and now Brian DeBlanc's going to be tasked with getting around the lap car there. Instead, DeBlanc's actually under attack by a lapper, the 23 of Guido Piano getting alongside of him. Almost wondering about the degradation of his tires if he's starting to hit a wall here. The goods have been knocked off of those Hoosier tires. Still, little by little, Al Bunch closing the gap. And we've got our first caution of the race here on lap 109. It took a while here today to see caution number 1. Now the grand question is, was it a debris caution? I know NR likes to throw a debris caution ever so often. And this is just a little bit before their windows, so everyone's definitely going to come down and pit. Oh, I think we have a debris caution here, folks. There's nothing wrong with that, getting a debris caution to help stack things back up here today. Yeah, no one stalled, no real mechanical failures. It's a Chicagoland debris caution for you. Dalton Scott and Al Bunch reset the field here on lap 113. Kind of a neat little third mark break there for everyone, getting fresh tires, full tank of gas, and doubled up for the restart. Al Bunch getting swallowed up here by Brian DeBlank, moving back up into second. Monty Shangle on the move as well, up to third. Well, not so quickly, though, as Al Bunch charges around the outside, and he's going to dive back in front of DeBlank for second. Now, this is where we might start seeing some wrecks and chaos unfold here. They were doubled up for the restart, obviously double file restarts in Sigma Cup competition. And this might open a wormhole here for someone to make a mistake. But Dalton Scott back out there with the lead. He was able to get the advantage of the caution to help get him kind of back on even tracking with the rest of his competitors. Even with the pit stop there on roughly 110. That would be putting us at our last round of pit stops around lap 290 to 300 still. So very interesting strategies are going to start unfolding, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a gas mileage race by the end of it. Hold temporarily here, folks, as I record the 1 hour mark of the race. One hour through the race, and well, we got a new fastest lap. Tayden Bergeron with a 28.431, and he's up in the top 10, as well as Willow Blake. She's cracked into the top 10 right there in front of Jimmy Logano and Tom Cording. This paint scheme for Willow Blake, very reminiscent of Atlee Weiss's 2023 season paint scheme that was a championship winning ride. It's painted up a little differently, not identical to the Toyota Care number 19 that Atlee Weiss drove back in 2023, but it's truly paying homage to one of our champions of the series. Project Roar was put together by Atlee Weiss to give some of the newcomers in our league a chance to get a leg up over the rest of the competition. And a lot of fingers point towards Willow Blake with this ride, that she might be the one to win it. There are some silly season talks going on right now that I'm hush on. But in due time, it'll start becoming a little clearer. We'll figure out the direction things are going probably sooner than later. With this being a marquee event, it's a race that everyone's going to want to win. They want to have the Chicago Times 460 on their resume. Just like a Daytona 500 or a 777 annual, another one of our classic races that we host every year. It just means that much more to pull into victory lane at these marquee events. And with the strategy and all that going down, it's clearly going to be who's got the best of everything here today. Maybe the fast, maybe the pit stops, maybe the luck, and the equipment, so you don't run it and blow it up. Well, that's impressive. Bradley Ream now up to fourth here, looking to try and take third away from Brian DeBlank. Well, we're going to take another Sigma side-by-side break. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep the racing action here for your watching. Well, we're under our second caution here as we were in Sigma side by side for a great duration of time there. I'm wondering, hopefully it's not another Chicagoland debris caution. We saw that for caution number 1. Man, the lights come on that pace car ASAP when the caution comes out here. Oh, oil leak for the 9 of Braden Varga. That's why he's a lap down. Yeah, yet again, another bogus debris caution here at Chicagoland. It's interesting that the Sigma officials have deemed 2 competition cautions for not a whole lot of reason. This one was only about 40 laps separated from the first one, so... Well, it only provides for more chaos and shenanigans as we're going to have another mid-race this time restart right at about halfway. As they exit pit road, Dalton Scott's going to have the lead over Al Bunch and Bradley Ream. Eli the Wolf and Tayden Berggren with the top 5. Brian DeBlanc, Jimmy Logano, Tom Cording, Willow Blake, Bellafon, and Monty Shangle. Well, the lights are off on the pace car, and we're going to get going back on lap 154 with 153 laps to go. So a nice, neat little halfway break here. And that's going to put us at a little bit better window for that final pit stop, being around 270. So that'll definitely beat having to pit with 7 laps to go for the majority of your leaders, like we were kind of. It was kind of starting to look like it was heading that direction. Pace car pulls off, and we're getting ready for the restart here. Dalton Scott and Al Bunch lead them to the green. Whoa, and Al Bunch got a really good start on the outside there. We haven't seen that outside line get that good of a jump yet this race, and it paid out for the 81 of Al Bunch from the green flag restart. Dalton Scott's going to drag race back on the inside, though. He's got the preferred inside line, of course. Al Bunch has got nothing else to do than just fall in line behind the 15. But it was a valiant effort and very much worth a shot to try and make that outside line pan out that way. Got Bradley Ream in third, Eli the Wolf in fourth, and it looks like Jimmy Logano now cracking on into the top 5. Briefly, as he's in there alongside Taden Berggren for that position. This is a very volatile top 10, as you can see, a lot of movement. A lot of spots up for grabs. You got Willow Blake making it 3 wide now. Into turn 3. 3 wide in turn 3. We've seen that a few times here today. Willow Blake's got the inside line, the preferred line here. And it looks like she's going to have to settle in behind Tom Cording. And we've got another caution. Cautions breed cautions, as they always say. And this time for one of our first wrecks of the night. Oh, and it went south pretty bad there for a couple drivers. So that's the 21 of Kara Shangle, the 7 of Tyler Landa, her brother. The 10 of Jordan Walker just kind of lost it there, collecting the 2 teammates of Kara and Tyler. And then the hit here with Adam Starr had to be a hard hit. Braden Varga, just an unfortunate bystander in the mix. Well, first wreck of the night. We had to get past halfway to actually get our first wreck in the books here. The 9 of Braden Varga is knocked out with an oil leak. It seems that it kind of further aggravated the original issue that he had and completed his day, unfortunately. 27 of Adam Starr and the 21 of Kara Shangle both knocked out from that wreck. Well, we had a split strategy here. Some folks came in for a quick gas and go while others stayed out. The ones that stayed out include your leader, of Dalton Scott, who decided to stay out. Tom Cording, Tyler Shangle, Tyler Aspinall, Kevin Xavier, and Andre Stefan. It's a gamble. It means the other folks are going to be able to stretch it a little longer on their fuel mileage. I don't think they took any tires, so definitely going to be interesting to see how this restart pans out. We're obviously in caution breeds caution territory right now, as we've seen our third caution of the... I had to cough, and I don't know if it came through the mic or not. Okay, I'm good now. I needed to have my coughing fit for a moment, and I think maybe I can actually commentate again. We're back and rolling with the restart. Your first car that pitted for the extra gas is Al Bunch, and he's up to 5th already on the restart. Looks like Willow Blake also came down pit road to take a quick gas and go. Oh, now we've got some troubles as there's drivers that are slow up here in the top 5. Al Bunch is going to be a lot quicker. The 14 of Kevin Xavier hit a bit of a brick wall there, but it looks like he's recovering. All in the meanwhile, it's Dalton Scott out front leading over Tyler Shangle and Tom Cording. Well, there we go. Cautions breed cautions here tonight. The defending winner of this race, Andre Stefan, has been caught up in a wreck here. Oh, and it is a nasty looking wreck, a pirouette of spins. And this was up in our top 10. So 8th place, Andre Stefan goes a little high there. Oh, and the 12 of Chris Harvey is what sent him spinning like a top. Man, that's a tough break for the 12 there of Chris Harvey. There's a lot of narrow misses here today. Wow. What a hard hit. I'm thinking Andre Stefan, well, or rather, Rich Roy may have wanted to buy a lottery ticket after tonight on this move right here. Watch this. The 64 in front of Rich Roy did get contact there. It was a somewhat of a side glance there, but the 71, amazingly enough, wow. Talk about pure luck. We knew this race was going to turn to shenanigans at one point or another here today. Man, what a lonely trip down pit road. Dalton Scott and the others that kind of stayed out, it looks like. Wow. We're looking at for a lot of freestanding strategies rolling around right now. Something must have happened to Dalton Scott on his pit stop here, because everyone else actually did come in. Oh, that's what it was. It was a quick gas and go, and he took 4 tires, and it looked like maybe doing some repairs on the car. Okay, I am simply lost on the strategy game now. Taden Bergeron's going to lead them to the restart alongside Tristan Reams, Carson Bowers, Trevor Walker, and Kellen Relic. A top 5 we have not yet seen here today. Any of these drivers in the top 5 have been scarce. We had Taden Bergeron up to 5th at one point. As it sits right now, 3 of your top 4 would be hunting their first career wins, I believe. Taden Bergeron may have gotten a win, so maybe only 2 of the top 4. Can't quite remember on Taden. I know that we saw Matthew Fastnot get a win this season, and that was a huge weight off his shoulders, as it's been a while since he's seen victory lane. The pace of this race has changed dynamically, as what was looking to go caution-free for the first half is now turned into a wreck fest during the second half here tonight. Carson Bowers, your current Bridge to Cup points leader, tied with Willow Blake, actually. Out front leading the way. And we could see the 2 Bridge to Cup stars duking it out for the win here today, as Willow Blake's right there in 4th. And now that Sigma All-Star race is around the corner in July, and any of the new winners are going to be locked into the field for the Sigma All-Star race. So that's a carrot dangling on the end of the stick that these drivers want to get. And even Willow Blake would be eligible if she was able to get a win here in Cup. We would give her the playoff, not the playoff, the All-Star race berth. Wow, Dalton Scott goes from having the best car to now having to make another pit stop. Wow. What a turn of events for the 15 team. He had to make a late race unscheduled pit stop there, and he's going to go 2 laps down most likely. Weird. Well, since we had those past two cautions, things have kind of got relaxed here a little bit. Made it to lap 190 with 117 laps to go, and it's been Carson Bowers out front since the last restart. Yeah, it's so crazy still for Dalton Scott to have led so many laps here today and fall down a lap on some miscues for the pit stops. And we've got a couple other folks trying to join the party at the front of the field. Eli the Wolf, Bradley Ream, and Willow Blake have all caught up to your lead draft here. New third place driver as Taden Berger gets passed over by Eli the Wolf. That makes Jaguar running 2 and 3 right now as the Toyota Supra leads the way with Carson Bowers. Taden Bergen falling back to 4th. Bradley Ream in 5th. Belafon 6th and Willow Blake 7th. 8th is Tristan Reams. 9th, Ewan What Army. And 10th, Rich Roy. Al Bunch with the pit strategy, getting him dropped backwards. He's starting to climb back through the field, back up to 11th here with 100 laps to go. Taden Bergen with the fastest lap in the race, but unfortunately must be running a little bit ragged on those tires as he got passed up for 3rd there. This right here is huge for the points battle as Bradley Ream is trying to catch up to Ewan What Army for the overall championship lead. He's beaten Ewan What Army here today with a top 5 run, whereas Ewan is on a top 10 run. Little by little, that 78 looking stout. It's a battle between 2 of our Bridge to Cup champions. Our 3rd Bridge to Cup champion is that of Al Bunch. So, I mean, they're in great company, the 3 of them. And they're obviously going to have a great season again this year. I'm impressed with how quickly Bradley Ream is taken to the Cup side of things after graduating out of Bridge to Cup from last year as the champion. Kellen has been flirting with trying to take the lead away from Carson Bowers, and he might have an opportunity here. Now Carson Bowers drag races back around the outside and holds the lead for now. Kellen Relic under attack by Eli the Wolf. One of his team cars there in the 94 Jaguar. Kellen trying again here. Going to use the 00 Jack Ross as a pick to maybe get the lead. They're still side by side drag racing now down the backstretch. The longer they stay side by side, the more likely it's going to drag Taden Berger and the rest closer to the front of the field again. Kellen Relic has an advantage. Oh, and he has to let up off the throttle there in turn 4. That's going to give the 40 Carson Bowers another shot to close up and get the lead again. Some great racing. Now you've got Taden Berger in the mix. Bradley Ream as well. Now your leaders are, they got some company. Carson Bowers still holding that lead though. Eli the Wolf with a mad charge on the outside. He's going to get by Kellen Relic here. And he might not be done as he's going to try to go for Carson Bowers. Oh, Kellen had to get way out of the gas there. That's going to cause him a little bit of trouble as Tatum Bergeron gets on the inside. Eli the Wolf is going to try to take the lead now as Carson Bowers stuck up on the outside. Oh, and the lap traffic unfortunately gave Eli the Wolf some trouble there. Man, Carson Bowers is fighting here. He's trying to keep that lead in his ball court. Something fierce. Al Bunch up to 9th, right behind you and What Army. Willow Blake trying to get into the top 5 now. The 42 and the 43, those two are teammates. Burnt Money Racing of Tatum Bergeron, the team owner. And then you've got Willow Blake and her teammate, Bradley Ream, there. It's always been a team tactics race series. You always got teammates racing alongside each other, helping each other out. Man, Brian DeBlanc had a solid car, and he's trapped in 22nd right now. Jimmy Logano trapped in 17th. Kevin Xavier making a move there around Liz. So you got folks now starting to make their rounds of pit stops. Well, Bradley Ream is now taking the lead. Willow Blake up to 2nd. And because of your green flag pit stops here, that's shaken up the running order yet again. Kellen Relic and Taden Berger in 30th, 31st, 29th with Carson Bowers. That would be our lead crew once the pit stop shuffle around here full cycle. Well, I'll be damned. Willow Blake's going to get credited with leading a lap here today from Chicagoland. We're getting into the latter part of this race, getting down to the nitty-gritty. 80 laps to go, and you're seeing Willow Blake make her pit stop here. And it doesn't give her the window that she needs to go all the way to the finish, though. She might have to pit again with 20 laps to go, based on the strategy and cycles we've seen. Oh, wow, you and What Army cycled around. Man, there's a lot of drivers that have cycled forward here. Dalton Scott on the altering strategies up to second right now. Actually the lead. Oh, and Carson Bowers blows by him there. The only way this would work for Dalton is if somehow able to stretch it. Yeah, man, it ain't gonna be a winning strategy, but who knows? He might have an opportunity for something. He's having to pit here anyways. He ain't gonna be able to make up 20 laps of time. Whoa, the 94 of Eli the Wolf had to whoa up way slowed up there. That all had to do with the 15 of Dalton Scott, evidently. Wow. Yep, so Carson Bowers back to your lead again. Taden Berger in second, Kellen Relic third. Fourth, Eli the Wolf. Fifth, Tristan Reams. Sixth, Belafon. Seventh, Ewan What Army. And eighth, Bradley Ream, with Willow Blake and Al Bunch rounding out your top 10. It'll be another couple weeks before we see a crown jewel race again, and that would be the Coke 600, May 29th. One of the few races that we try to mimic off of real life. We do host our own Coke 600 at Charlotte around the same time the real guys do. After Chicagoland, it's Texas for the No Limits 351. And then we go to Papyrus for the Papyrus 226. And North Wilkesboro for the Night of Thunder 303. And that all leads up to the Coke 600 at the end of May. Well, Fireball Robert and Tom Cording have kind of cycled back up to the front half of the field. Things have definitely got spread out through the field as Carson Bowers has a dominant lead over Taden Bergeron and Kellen Relic. Used to be a lot tighter up in the top three, and now it's stretching itself out some. We've seen Carson Bowers win in the Bridge to Cup Series this year. He is, just like Jimmy Logano, attempting to qualify for a limited amount of races this year. And it seems that, you know, the ones that he's starting is kind of paying off. He's getting some good starts, fighting for good finishes and whatnot. A lot of these rookie drivers are probably looking to stay within the 21 race limit to become or stay rookie eligible for a full-time season come next season if they decided to get a full ride. And even so, Carson Bowers, with the limited schedule, if he wins a race, that might actually start opening the doors for him to make more full-time Cup starts. I mean, the Bridge to Cup Series, one thing is he's already out there week in, week out trying to hold that points lead. And if he won Bridge to Cup, then he'd be guaranteed to graduate into the Cup Series full-time with the Bridge to Cup charter that swaps hands depending on how well the driver does from last season. In other words, it is reserved for the champion of the Bridge to Cup series each year. So there's that lucky number 33 charter that once this season ends, for example, Bradley Ream, he's going to have to obtain a charter. And it might not be easy, but it may not be very hard either. Actually, no, it would be super easy. As long as he finishes inside the top 32 in points, he'll be guaranteed a new charter at the end of the season to the Cup Series. So and that's a big move right there, as Bradley Ream is trying to tie up as many points as he can against the current points leader, Ewan What Army. It looks like he's going to blow around What Army and take position and take the points in his favor. Of all things, it almost feels like this should be the time that they're throwing a Sigma debris caution, as things have kind of got strung out and spread out. Carson Bowers has a dominant lead over the rest of the field. Taden Berggren nearly 3 seconds back as of right now. Still hunting. He ain't going to let the 40 get away for too much further, hopefully, but starting to look a little bit more bleak for those hunting him down. And just like that, we've got a new driver up to second. Eli the Wolf has closed in on the leader just a little bit, down to 2.5 seconds, the deficit. Clear track in front of him, that's definitely going to help matters for the 94. 60 laps to go, and we're going to be seeing one more round of pit stops at about 20 laps to go. Guido Piano's running in 30th. That would put us with 29 cars left on the lead lap once Carson Bowers gets around him there. A lot of these drivers desperately hoping for one more caution to get things stacked back up here today. Bradley Ream making a move around Tristan Reams for position. That would get him up to 6th. Kellen Relic not too much further ahead in 5th. Belafon 4th. Tatenberger in 3rd. And then there's Eli the Wolf. Still slowly cutting into the leader's time there. Wow, Belafon makes it up to 3rd here as she got around her team owner, the 43 of Tatenbergen. Wow, Eli the Wolf has cut into that lead. Took 2 seconds off the lead now. Carson Bowers at a 29.5. Eli the Wolf at a 29.5. I don't know how he made up that big of a gap. Holy cow. 29.4. 29.4. Little by little. We are officially down to just 50 laps left to go here tonight from the Chicago Times 460. It's definitely been a wild race for sure, as we had our early dominant drivers swapping the lead out at the first half, and it was pretty much caution free. We didn't have a whole lot of chaos and carnage until we got to halfway, and then everything changed. Basically the whole rhythm of this race changed drastically once we got past halfway. The most dominant driver that led the most laps here today, Dalton Scott, had some unfortunate gremlins in the car and had to make a couple trips down pit road, and that's ultimately trapped him a lap down here today, whereas he had a car very capable of getting the win. Since the caution spree that we had, where caution bred caution after caution, things have settled back down, but with different faces at the front of the field that we had not seen for the first half of the race. Carson Bowers being one of the guys here that's totally shocked us. Didn't exactly forecast this number 40 being at the front leading like this, but here we are. Carson Bowers, your current Bridge to Cup points leader, fighting for a win here in his early Cup career. Looks like Al Bunch is up to 8th. Ewan Wood Army drops back to 9th. Willow Blake solidly in the top 10. Well, now we're down to 40 laps to go for the 40 car, as Eli the Wolf has really closed the gap up here. Actually, if you're looking at your entire top 7, the gap has continued to shrink just a little bit, as that could bring your top 5 back into the mix before the end of this one. The grand question is, on the last round of pit stops, do you come in for just a quick gas and go? Do you take tires? What do you do? As for most signs are pointing towards a surprise winner here tonight. Dalton Scott, unfortunately, with the hard charge at the early half of the race, falling apart. Heartbreak for him, as the only way that this may or may not work any differently is if we get a caution. We know Dalton's got an alternate strategy that puts him out for a couple laps later than the rest of the field. That could be a game plan he's working with, but it's kind of a long game. Wow, Bradley Ream up to 4th, Al Bunch in 5th. Ewan What Army struggling here as he's dropped back to 11th. A late race caution would definitely throw a curveball for the end of this race here. Everyone would be able to pit and be back on good to go to the finish on tires and gas, but obviously a caution would have to happen first for any of that to actually transpire. So Bradley Ream in 3rd. Eli the Wolf has caught up to Guido Piano here and almost caught up to the 40 of Carson Bowers. This could get interesting, folks. You are starting to see the alternate strategies start to pan out a little bit here, as some of the drivers with the fresher tires are starting to work their way through the deficit to the front of the field here. Maggie Reams, the first down pit road as she's been all night, the first to take the pit stops each round. Who might be able to play the strategy game and rotate themselves to the lead, just like Brian DeBlanc did earlier in the race, and perhaps even like Carson Bowers did in this last half of the race. The window is going to start opening within about the next 8 laps. We'll see a lot of drivers coming down pit road to finish their pit cycling for the rest of this race. One of our top contenders, 51 of Tristan Reams, made his pit stop already. How late is Cooper Dwight going to... my bad. Carson Bowers is going to push it not very much further as he's pitting here on lap 280 with just 27 laps left to go. That's going to hand the lead on over to the 94 of Eli the Wolf. Bradley Reams second, Al Bunch third. And Eli the Wolf making his stop now. That will then cycle to the new leaders, Bradley Ream and Al Bunch, 1-2. Willow Blake pitting. Yeah, we're starting to see just about everyone pit now. How late are these two going to stay out? Staying out longer doesn't always pan out to be better. They didn't wait too much longer. They're coming down on lap 281. Now the big question is who's going to take the quick gas and go approach and gamble with their tires. There's got to be at least one driver willing to gamble here today, and it'll be a huge gamble. Yeah, taking tires, which is the safe bet. Obviously, with 26 laps still to go, it would have been harder to go out there on old tires and still try to fight for the win here. Dalton Scott briefly cycles back around in front of the field here, but that alternate strategy has him slower than a rolling stone. Slower than molasses, I guess would be a better descriptor of it. Al Bunch and Willow Blake back at it again here for what would be about a top 10. And Dalton Scott couldn't stay out too much longer. He's having to pit now. Not looking like we're going to get that late race caution here as Carson Bowers, all he's got to simply do is bring it home. Taden Bergen's about 3 seconds back. Eli the Wolf, 3 seconds back. Kellen Relic, 4.2 seconds back. Belafon, nearly 5 seconds. Sure, there's some race fans out there hoping to see a caution to give us one final stack up to restart the race. No matter what, you're not going to be able to take this win away from whoever gets it here tonight. It's going to go down in the record books as a Chicago Times 460 winner. High honors at this racetrack that we've been hosting since 2013, so 12 years strong. This event has history. Add your name with an elite class that includes the likes of Monty and Tyler Shangle, two of our winningest winners in the series. The gap is pretty stable right now. It hasn't shrunk, it hasn't grown. Tadenberger in 2.45 seconds back. He actually gained a little bit of time to Carson Bowers there, down to 2.41. That lead is now shrunk down to 2.24 seconds as Taden's got clear track in front of him. Eventually he'll have to deal with the lap traffic of Nate Newman. But Carson Bowers may be safetying up here. Hopefully he doesn't safety up too much and make a mistake losing the lead here. Well, Carson Bowers starting to stretch it out again as he's making the lead back into his favor again here. And with just 16 laps to go, not a lot of time left for Tadenberger to try and catch him. Well, the lead is shrunk down to 2.18 seconds. Tadenberger trying to close that gap, maybe with a little bit of drafting help there from Eli the Wolf. He's turning 28.9s. Compare that up to Carson Bowers, who just turned a 29.0. He turned another 29.0. Tadenberger turns another 28.9. He's going to need to cut more into it than that, though, if he wants a shot at winning this race. Maybe more so on the lines of 2 or 3 tenths rather than mere thousandths. .018, 29.082 for Carson Bowers. 2 seconds is the gap. as we're down to 11 laps to go. Not seeing enough speed out of this 43. And I don't really see lap traffic factoring a whole lot into it either. Now we're down to just 10 laps to go here from Chicagoland. Wow, Taden Bergeron biting into that lead a little bit harder here. We're going to have to see how he fares against the 20 of Nate Newman. As long as he gets around the 20 without any troubles, then we could be onto a race here, folks. Actually, Sigma officials have decided to send Nate Newman down. No. I just see the writing on the wall that this race might get decided on the lap traffic. Nate Newman's gonna go ahead and give our leaders a fair swing at it here. We're down to 1.7 seconds is the gap. But only 7 laps left to go. That's a lot of ground still to make up. Man, the times have really petered out. As 1.72 might be all the extra time he's going to be able to get back. Not very often that you get a Bridge to Cup driver show up on an off week and race for a win like this. It's not over until it's over, though. 5 laps remain. The gap now 1.64 seconds. I know for a fact that Taden Bergeron's going to be bummed to get runner-up yet again. He's had so many runner-up finishes in the Cup side of things that he could have won, should have won. Had fastest lap here during the second half of the race, and it's just going to probably come up short. Wow, Bowers is going to catch lap traffic with 3 laps remaining. Is there going to be a chance? 1.48 seconds. He's going to have to cut half a second a lap here if he wants a shot at winning it. Carson Bowers is going to need to get held up by John Hagan here drastically. And that could happen. Now down to just a couple laps left to go. I don't think Taden's going to have anything left to prove here. Carson Bowers rolling around for the last half of the racetrack here. He's in alongside John Hagan, but nothing's going to stop him here tonight as Carson Bowers rolls around as a winner in his rookie campaign in the Sigma Cup Series. Taden Berggren bringing it home second, Eli the Wolf third, Bradley Ream fourth, Al Bunch fifth, Kellen Relic sixth, Belafon seventh, Willow Blake with a top 10 in eighth, Ewan Wood Army ninth, Tom Cording 10th, James Fireball Robert, Tristan Reams, Rich Roy, Tyler Shangle, and Jimmy Logano with a top 15 finish. And that, folks, is the Chicago Times 460 here today. Surprise winner. Carson Bowers stole the show here. Outlasted the rest of the field that had troubles during the first half, transitioning over to the second half. And our point system, the points tally is going to get interesting with Bradley Ream stretching out the points on Ewan Wood Army again, getting more points in his favor to try and catch Wood Army from the lead. That was definitely one of our longer endurance races. Thanks for those of you that were able to tune in and catch it. It's always a bit more grueling to follow with, but at the end of the day, you always get something different. And that's what we got here tonight with Carson Bowers getting the job done. And that is a wrap, folks. It is late for me on the West Coast. I am even later on the East Coast for most of you. Thank you. Very much appreciated. It's not always the best of broadcasts, but at least we had a good race here to keep us entertained for the night. So it's going to be the weekend now, and we're off racing until next Tuesday. And hopefully everyone has a great weekend out there. Stay safe. And until next time, this is Jake.